Cool. Welcome everyone. Cloudy County Community Call. It is February 2025. I'm Dwayne, a cloud solution architect at Microsoft, and this is Joe. He's a lot of things. R1 Research University sysadmin, Microsoft MVP, nerd, all around cool guy. But we are your hosts
Thanks,
for
Dwayne.
Cloudy County. I gotta build you up. You're awesome, man. You do a lot of great stuff. He wears a lot of hats and gets a lot of things done. Um, but this is our land grant themed community call, and we're glad you're here. This is a new meeting series invite. We started it in January, so things work a little bit differently for the community. If you did attend in 2024, that meeting series did not allow for you to drop questions or comments or just random facts for us in the meeting chat throughout the year. The meeting chat was only active once a month while the meeting was running. So if you've attended the call now in 2025, you can use the chat all year round. And I actually dropped a little bit of a teaser announcement, maybe if you will, back in mid-January for what we're going to cover this month for this session. Sorry, my dog is losing his mind and it's very distracting. Apparently, there's somebody at my door. Sorry. Joe, can you cover me here for a second?
Yeah, I think what we're going to do, usually what we do if you're new here is we start off with a little bit of what's new. This Microsoft space is always changing. Today is probably going to be almost just a lot of things that are new across the whole thing. We usually have some what's new and dive into deeper something else. But the thing we're going to dive into, you can see on the screen, Microsoft Copilot updates. We're diving into the new changes of that. So we'll cover some features of that. But that has undergone a few changes. Thank you, marketing and engineers. I would think both of them have done a great job.
Yeah,
So
I can't even imagine the pace. Joe and I did a lot of work with Microsoft Teams in 2019. And then we all know what happened in 2020, and we were overwhelmed with the pace of change for Microsoft Teams as the company was trying to keep up with requirements, like everybody went virtual all at once. And so all these things had to happen. Copilot's faster than that. It feels faster than that. My sense of time is messed up. So the change that we're going to announce or talk about that was announced on January the 15th. It feels like it was 6 months ago because it's just been, I don't know, it's weird. I don't know how to describe it other than my sense of time is messed up. But
I,
we,
I think for this change, there's little pieces where it starts exposing itself throughout this ecosystem. So you pick up little things, and it's like, oh, I hadn't gone into the web thing yet. I hadn't gone into the app yet.
yeah.
Little places start changing as you see it. So it feels like it's nonstop.
Now the call won't be entirely about Copilot. Uh, and also, just to clarify, I said this in the email announcement. What we're talking about in regards to Copilot is the free Copilot that all of you should already have access to. So that's good news. There's nothing stopping you from logging in and using what we're going to show you today. But we are going to talk about some other changes as well because we talk about all of Microsoft 365. So Joe, I think you've got some updates kind of lined up for us, right, with some other applications too.
Yeah, yeah. I'll get that started and get a little share going. Get us going on. First thing we're going to cover. And I'll drop this into chat. This is I don't think this is not the full list of what we're seeing right now, but we're starting to see more and more of the Microsoft services online switching to this .cloud .microsoft service kind of representation. This is a more secure way of Microsoft to provide services. It helps reduce the ability for people out there trying to get fish you and hack you, of coming up with clever ways of naming URLs that look like something you're trying to go to. And Microsoft owns, and they're the only ones that can create domains under .microsoft. So if you end up at .microsoft, you know it's going to be a Microsoft service. If it's something that was Microsoft.com, people have tried to. I think Microsoft probably owns all of the URLs possible, but they might try to change the O into a zero or little things like that in the .com. Anybody can go and buy a .com license, so or a domain. So we're starting to see more and more of these start to switch over. We've got Excel, Word.cloud.microsoft, PowerPoint.cloud.microsoft are out there now. And you'll see some of these tools have start switching, and that's the default you're going to start ending up at. The next thing we're going to talk about is it's starting to come out, general availability, starting to roll out. I've seen it a little bit in EDU. Some other people have seen it in education tenants. I'm going to show you what it looks like, as I don't have it yet where in my EDU tenants. But there's a new calendar view coming out for Teams. So in Teams, this is the default calendar view. We're going to get this upgraded and updated to be what you get in new Outlook. So more like Outlook for the web. So more richer, fuller experience. You're going to start seeing a toggle show up in the upper right for new calendar. Very easy to click that and choose to switch over. So this is going to look much more like what you have in Outlook. Again, what you have in Outlook, new Outlook, classic Outlook. We've got our standard options here for filtering and our days of the week, month view, day view. We have a few extra options here now that you don't have in the regular classic Teams calendar view. You can save some views if you want. If you want the month view or day view with certain number of days, you can start saving those views. Filtering. You want your meetings, appointments. You've got your categories, easy to get to. All those are starting to show up now. Very nice to have that option. You've got your new event still, and you've got all your other options that are available to you as far as different types of events you can bring online. So if I hit view all, there's a nice little view of the types of webinars, town halls you might have available at your institution that explain a little bit about how to take advantage of these. So yeah, exposing more of that calendar that's kind of been missing, and it not having to learn a new calendar feature, a new calendar system is nice now that they brought this, bringing this to us just like this. Be nice to see if anybody has checked to see if they're seeing it right now. That'd be great to know if anybody in chat has a chance to check that out. Next we're going to look at is, I guess this has been a pretty big feature request. It's just for Windows desktop right now, as I understand it. But if we go into the Teams app, there is an option now under settings and under notification and activity is we've got this option here now where to position the toast notifications, the pop-ups we get when Teams says, hey, somebody's chatting with you, you've got a meeting starting. We can now move that around on the screen. I know that I like to, I'm starting to move mine up into the top right. There's, sometimes notifications overlap each other, show up down in the lower bottom right. This at least gives Teams an option to kind of pop that up, move it someplace else. Put it someplace else like this, maybe less chance of forgetting, ignoring it, something like that. Move it around on your screen once in a while. So that's a nice new feature that's available. Again, just in your settings, notifications, activity, and under display, you'll find that. And we're going to stay in Teams. Actually, let me drop the little chat about the new calendar before I get too far. And if anybody wants to drop into chat too, a little screenshot there of the change in notification locations. Staying in Teams, we're going to talk about, let's go to a team, and I'm going to get this started. And Dewayne, you're going to have I think a more fuller, richer demo of this But a nice feature that I know has been on the waiting for this to come out is around breakout rooms. So there's a new update available to breakout rooms that have come out, which allows people to um, choose their rooms. So your breakout room, your choice now. So we've got this new option in here to let people choose their rooms. So that's going to be really helpful. There's been some scenarios that I've worked with recently where I probably had a choice between creating a team with 20 channels for some student projects to work in those channels, where students 5 at a time or so would come into each one of those channels, start a meeting, do a little collaboration with their teammates. Um, they only needed to do that, I think, 3 times for the school year. Maybe not an entire team is needed. This allows the professors to just start up a nice Teams meeting. The students, hit I want 20 rooms, and let the students know their assigned room, jump in there. Very little work for someone to set this up and let the students kind of move into their own rooms like that. Um, but I think, Dewayne, were you going to tee up kind of to see both sides of that? Is that something you had available?
Yeah, I'll show you the, beginning to end, I guess, if you will. Um, I've got a couple different computers here. Oh, I've got a meeting on my calendar running right now, Cloudy County. Pretty cool. But Nestor is the persona that I'm using right now. And Nestor is gonna just click on a calendar and schedule a meeting. So we're gonna make it just, demo breakout rooms. I'm gonna add a few people to the meeting. We'll add Beverly and we'll add Dewayne, and we'll make it a 1 hour long meeting. Now, there's nothing I can do with breakout rooms yet because I actually have to make the meeting first. So once the meeting exists, then I can go back in and I can manage breakout rooms. You can manage like some of your options for who is allowed to have a presenter access. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, watch the January recording. It's on our YouTube channel. This is the most important screen that you'll probably ever look at when it comes to scheduling Teams meetings, because this is how you decide who's allowed to do what. Do you want to hear people's conversations in the background, or their dog barking? That's how you manage and control that. So I'm going to click send on this meeting, and we'll give it a cloud second or 3. And we'll go back in. I'll just click right back on it and click edit. And now you'll see I've got breakout rooms up here on the top on the control bar. So if I click on breakout rooms, I can create my rooms in advance. So the meeting hasn't happened yet. I'm going to go ahead and create a couple of rooms. It's suggesting 2. You can ratchet that up a little bit if you want, but we'll just go with 2 for right now because that's easy and I'm lazy. So there's my 2 rooms. They're generically named room 1 and room 2. So we're going to change that. We're going to rename the room, and 1 will be Enterprise because we like Star Trek around here, if you did not know that. And the other one will be maybe controversial. What do you think, Joe? Voyager, were you a fan?
I'm a fan.
I'm a fan. I thought it was great.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know in the comments if you liked Voyager. um, so here
Space
we are.
Station 9.
Yeah, DS9, that was also very good, but that one didn't move. I want ones that are like moving around. We're moving between breakout rooms. We should have a ship. Um, you could, if you wanted to, pre-assign people to the room. But the objective here is we want to provide freedom. We want people to be able to choose their own room. So you have to enable that capability. There is a little gear up here at the top right. This is where you're going to manage your overall like settings of the breakout rooms. And we have some settings here. So you can set a time limit. You can predefine presenters, maybe different rooms are responsible for different activities and someone's helping lead or facilitate that activity. You can pre-configure that person. You can, if you have pre-assigned people to rooms, when you open the rooms, it will like push them all out to the room and then suck them all back in like a wormhole. If we keep going with the Star Trek stuff, especially Voyager, that was a wave. Never mind. But the one that we're worried about is let people choose their own room. That's what we want is freedom. So if I turn that on, it'll automatically also configure the last option, which lets people move back to the main room. We don't want people stuck in a black hole. Sorry, Joe. I'm trying.
Wormhole, right? DS9.
Going
So
way too far down this nerdy rabbit hole here.
Dwayne,
Um,
real quick on that gear. I was just curious if we go back and look at that, if you don't mind, real quick.
mhm,
The first option, which is automatically move people to rooms
mhm.
and let people choose their own rooms. So it sounds like what you could do is maybe just if you wanted to, you could scatter people randomly if you didn't assign, but then they could choose to move around, if I understand that configuration.
Yeah, if you go to assign participants, there's been a couple of new options that have happened here. There's automatically, there's manually, and then there's let people choose. So this would also flip that switch that was you saw earlier. There's also shuffle, which is kind of fun. So if you want to shake things up a little bit, like maybe you have a program where you push people out to rooms, you pull them back in, and then you do a whole new activity later, but you want to mix things up a little bit, you could click shuffle and just randomly fling people all over the universe.
Great
Um,
for I've seen ice like an icebreaker or something like that.
yeah,
Everybody
yeah.
tell us your favorite Star Trek episode, or something like that.
I love this. So Nestor is going to join the meeting. Dr. Crusher here is also going to join the meeting. I have to make sure I mute my microphone. Otherwise, I hear myself like a whole bunch of times. Oh, we're going to ignore that because I don't remember what that was. Um, and we're going to have Dewayne join the meeting as well. So we got three people in the call. I am the organizer slash like owner of this meeting, so I can go up to rooms and I can say open rooms. So Enterprise and Voyager are open. Well, what do Beverly and Dwayne see? They actually get a nice little like, hey, the rooms are open. Click here to look at them and see which one you want to go to. This has a lot of possibilities because Joe and I had a lot of experience running virtual conferences, like he was kind of alluding to. And imagine you had a virtual event, and normally that takes place in a hotel. And you know how hotels are. It's like, oh, what session am I going to? It's in the Azalea room or it's in the Oak room. You could name these rooms after like a hotel that your group normally meets at, maybe. You could do all kinds of fun stuff. But if Beverly here is like, I'm assigned to the Enterprise, obviously she's Dr. Crusher. If she wasn't on the Enterprise, we'd have a medical emergency. She just joined the room. So she just moved herself into it. She can leave it and go back to the main room, and she's back in the main room. So this is really easy. It's long overdue. Joe and I wanted this 5 years ago, um, but it's here now, and it's super easy to do. And I honestly, probably one of the most exciting Teams features I can think of in quite a while, especially when it comes to extension, because I'm really curious what you all can think of you could do with this. If you're still doing virtual programming, I hope you are because hybrid is, we had, gosh, Joe, do you remember we had people that were like, I did a mushroom foraging program and people from the other side of the world were joining it. Like your reach goes so far beyond
Yeah.
your county line, when you go to virtual. So hopefully you're still mixing it up a little bit, doing some
Mm.
virtual programming. And I think it's pretty cool. So
And those
try it
features
out.
are available in the webinar and and the town hall, I believe. So those
So
are
yeah, let's talk about limitations. Breakout rooms don't support meetings over 300 people. And
so
I
don't go
think,
too big on your webinar.
well, I think that's okay. I mean, do you
Yeah.
really, I don't know, like if you're at that scale, breaking people into small groups is going to be a
You're
little
going to move
difficult.
to, yeah, you're moving to a town hall
Yeah,
and one
yeah,
way push of info. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But hopefully you all are excited about this too, because like I said, Joe and I have been waiting on this feature for a long time. It's been a highly requested feature. A lot of people wanted to see this, and it is very fluid and easy and just I think it's intuitive. You click rooms and then you click the room you want to go to. That's it. It's not hard. So I think, oh, let me do show one thing too, because I thought this was kind of neat. So we're gonna move Beverly back to wait, no, I'm sorry, Enterprise. I get confused. I can expand Enterprise and I can see who's in the room before I go into it. So that's an interesting capability too. If there were like 10 or 15 people in a room and maybe you were signed a buddy, you know, you could follow them into the room that they're in. So you do get some visibility too of who's in the room before you jump into it, which is pretty cool. All right, Joe, we got more what's new or what? What's the plan
That's
here?
the what's new to lead up into the what's new that we're going to deep dive
Oh, okay.
into.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Yeah, February session is basically all about what's new because the Copilot stuff that we're going to talk to you about is also new. So, um, kind of a kind of a theme here, I guess. So, also, if you're an organizer, hopefully you've clicked. That's a bad color. Let's go with green. Hopefully you've clicked the little drop down arrow, because this lets you basically nuke the meeting for everybody. So if you do the little drop down arrow, end meeting, end, boom, it just hung it up for all the people who were on the call, which is a great way to reset. Okay, Copilot. That is the theme of today. I am going to show you some resources. If you are passionate about helping your colleagues learn how to do stuff, which if you're here, I kind of hope you are. Like we teach you how to do new stuff, and hopefully you pass that information on to your colleagues. And if your colleagues aren't aware of what's going on, you should tell them about Cloudy County and have them come be a part of this. So shameless plug at that for us. So, um, but I'm going to show you some resources that would help you tell the story that we're going to tell you. So normally I would just present a PowerPoint, but I don't want to do that. I want to show you where I got the PowerPoint and how you could also get the PowerPoint and tell people what's going on. So we're going to feed you some links, and I'm going to share obviously sharing my screen now, and I'm going to show you some websites that you should hopefully become familiar with if you are passionate about this kind of thing. And if you're not passionate about this kind of thing, you're like, I don't care, just tell me the updates. You're going to get that too, because I'm actually going to pull up the slides. The first one is adoption.microsoft.com. So this is a great catch-all page that helps you navigate and find resources to talk about how a product works and tell people ways they could use it. I use this site probably every single day. Very important to me. Up at the top, there is a products drop down, and we're going to go over to Microsoft 365 Copilot, and we're going to explore some of the things that are on this page. The first thing that's really important is this one right smack in the middle. We'll go back to red for my square, and it's the success kit. This is going to have all kinds of resources inside of it that are going to help you understand how Copilot works and help you also teach your colleagues how Copilot works. There's a nice video here. So shout out to Caruana, who leads a lot of our, outreach and training and education, does lots of blogs, coffee in the cloud, all kinds of things that she does. She has a great little 60-second video that kind of explains and summarizes some of the changes. This scenario library is also really interesting, and it teaches you different things, like different situations you could be in. Like, oh, I need to write an executive summary of a meeting. Like, what would I use to do that? It will show you some of the AI tools that you could use to do that. And as you scroll down, there's these different like personas or role types that you could go through. So you could say, "Oh, I'm in leadership." So, or I'm going to talk to someone in leadership. What are some resources that would be relevant to that type of role? User enablement. Maybe you're a nerd like us, technical readiness. I need to understand how to do reporting. Those things are all kind of categorized for you, which is really good. I'm going to go up to the success kit. We'll scroll down a little bit, and there's all kinds of links available. You can even click down and say, like, what's in the full kit? Like, what are all the things that I could get from the full kit? I'm going to go to the one that says new on it, because that's the theme, is what's new. New Copilot Chat and Agent Starter Kit. And this Copilot Chat User Training Guide, I'm going to in the chat, I'm going to hyperlink you straight to what I'm about to show you. So when I click this, it opens up a PowerPoint. Now, this is not your standard PowerPoint. It says your logo here. So I'm not going to do that. We're going to go through it like raw, like how it's presented here. But the concept here, the idea of this presentation is that you would take it, you would brand it as your own, and then you would share it internally and deliver it to people who are inside. Like, you would present it to them and you would teach them. So it's a template, basically. So I'm going to click and open it up, and we'll take a look at it. Yeah, recanned. Sure, that works. I like that. So Jackie, you can grab this and deliver it to all the people at Penn State and tell them, like, hey, there's this thing called Copilot Chat. Here's what it does. It even comes with instructions. So we're going to click through some of these things and talk about what Copilot Chat is, because that's the that's the session. So Copilot Chat is an AI tool. If you are a user of generative AI, you've used other chat services, Chat GPT, those types of things. Copilot Chat is the AI chat service that's built into Microsoft 365 that's included with all Microsoft 365 licensing. So if you have a Teams license and use Outlook, like, you can use Copilot Chat. There's a website here, which I'll just, copy the link and drop it in the chat. That's not right. That was Joe. Can you help me out there? I don't know
Yep.
why that just happened. Sorry, that was the wrong link. We'll delete that. But you see it on the screen, Mike, m365copilot.com. You can also get there through the traditional office.com. That will redirect you. This is a safe AI tool. I'm going to use the word safe because we talk about things like enterprise IT controls. Well, that sounds cool, but if you're not in IT, you probably don't really care about what that just sounds like gibberish. I say it's safe because the information that you put into it doesn't train it. The information that you upload, like a file that you want to work on with it, doesn't go anywhere. It goes to your OneDrive. It stays contained within the Microsoft 365 system, like within your university. That's very, very important in 2025, when every single company out there is making an AI tool and half of them are free. You got to ask, well, what are you doing with my data? If you're a researcher, would you put unpublished research into a generative AI tool not knowing what it would do with it? That's kind of an extreme example, I guess, but proprietary information that's, sensitive to your business, to your company, to your school. This is an enterprise grade AI tool, and it is documented in a bajillion places that the large language models, the AI models are not learning. They're not being trained based on usage and consumption.
So the like to say there is the safe by default, where if you end up in other tools that have, they've been around quite a while. I'm sure people are using it. If, especially the free ones, by default, you're probably the product. You're helping them grow that product, basically, by default. In this case, by default, like Dwayne said, you're safe against those kind of uses of your data.
Yeah, I mean, large language models are trained on a couple of different data sources, publicly available information. Now, back in the day, when you had to do a research paper, a large volume of publicly available information was called an encyclopedia. This is kind of like that, but backed by the entire internet, right? Anything that's publicly available. The other method that they're used that's used to advance them is actual consumption, like people using it, asking it questions, and it generating answers. So it is pretty important. I know I've spent a few extra minutes kind of like really, probably over exaggerating the point here. But it matters, like when you're using it for work, you should think about that, I think. There's a whole bunch of different places that you can get to it from, different websites. It says Teams app and Outlook app coming soon, which is really kind of interesting because this is something that was connected to the paid license. Was you would see Copilot in Teams and Copilot in Outlook if you were paying for Copilot. And that's changing a little bit, and I can actually show it to you because Nestor here, he has a Copilot right there on we call this the left rail or the app bar inside of Teams. And he can click on it and it will load the chat interface for Copilot, and he can start working and he can start doing stuff without having to open up a web browser or anything like that. So if you are an IT person, you should look up the pinning Copilot admin controls and check that out because I mean, this is going to sound pretty, again, on an extreme, I guess. If your users aren't using Copilot chat, what are they using? Because they're using generative AI. Like, I'm not going to ask you all to raise your hands and tell me if you've used Chat GPT or something like that. But the research has been done, and it's pretty solid fact that people are using generative AI. So, are they using it in a way that keeps the information from the organization safe? That's all.
So this is the
Um,
evolution of Bing Chat Enterprise,
that
Bing
was like
Chat
5 names
with
ago.
CDP, Bing Chat EDP. I think we've
Yeah.
arrived at one that's going to stick this time. So
I hope so. Yeah. Yeah. It's gone through some rebrands. But this presentation, again, remember the way I'm framing this presentation is available for you to get and then give to other people, colleagues, peers, a group of students, whatever it might be. There's some videos in here that explain it. One thing that's said in this video that's really nice is it talks about the large language models that are actually being used by Copilot, and it leads off talking about GPT-4o. So if you are watching for the latest and greatest large language model that you want to use, those are made by OpenAI. As far as like if it says GPT on it, it's made by OpenAI, and we're partners with OpenAI, and they power the Copilot large language models. This is very, very important. Sign in with your school account. If you're signing in with your Hotmail or you're signing in with your Outlook.com account, you will not get what is known as enterprise data protection, which is all the things that we just spent time talking about are super important. No training, no retention, like those things, like the model's not learning, all that stuff wouldn't apply unless you see the green shield at the top of the screen. So, again, all of you, I think you should think you should log in right now. If I'm being honest with you, I think you should go and you should validate and confirm that you see the green shield at the top, because that matters. So when Nestor looks at Copilot, this is what I'm talking about, is the green shield up at the top there. Um, if you hover over the green shield, you'll see a hyperlink saying enterprise data protection applies to this chat. And if you click it, it will take you to the website that Joe dropped in the chat just a second ago. I think that's the same website, right,
Yeah.
Joe?
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. So look for the green shield. You'll get the green shield if you're signed in with your work account. Now, being an extension, you might be like, well, which work account? It could be either one. It could be either account. If you primarily use your state university account, log in with that one. If you use your local county account, sign in with that one. Both of those should receive enterprise data protection. You'll see the green shield. Now,
This is
what's new? Sorry.
one question on that. And it's always fun to dive into licensing. That won't matter as long as you've got your work account. You should have that option.
Yeah, all work accounts get Copilot Chat. There is no cost associated with Copilot Chat. Yeah. This is a like a overview of the interface, telling you, like what's where and what it is. The new thing that was a big part of this announcement is going to be this part right here, agents. This is interesting because it opens up opportunities to create virtual agents that do specific things. An agent that answers questions exclusively about your extension program. Something like that could be pretty cool. You can feed it data. Maybe you've got a bunch of files stored somewhere. You could feed it information and say, answer questions only about growing strawberries. And if that's all you gave it, that's all it would know how to do. So some pretty interesting possibilities there. We'll leave those for in the future for a later time. If the community is curious about agents, Joe and I would be happy to talk about them. But we always like to make sure that we cover tools that you actively have access to right now and can use. And so this is one of those tools.
Dwayne, real quick on that one. How do you when you look at that screen, how can you tell that you're signed in with your account properly? Because I think they kind of flipped things on us, didn't they? Like, where in the world did my profile icon go?
Well, the number one thing to look for is the green shield. That's the first thing you'll see it up there at the top. But what Joe's referring to is if you were using Copilot on the website, what we used to call just office.com, your account menu used to be at the top right. Now it's at the bottom left. I don't have an answer why, but that's where it is. and that would show up. I'm going to switch out of the PowerPoint real quick. And so if Nestor here just went to office.com, and that's not a Copilot specific change, that is just the entire Microsoft 365 landing page. You'll see down here is Nestor's profile picture and the settings menu and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, good call out there. I won't go through the rest of the presentation because I want you to go look at it. It's got some really good information in it, and it's going to talk about prompting. What is a prompt? If the community is interested in prompting, Joe and I would be happy to lead a session on how to prompt. I'll show you a couple as we go through the demo here, but we won't spend too much time on it. Checking sources. This is a great one to show to people. So if you open up Copilot and you ask it a question, and I'm going to pre-apologize if we have any Chiefs fans on the call. Who won the 2025 Super Bowl? It says, did you watch the game? I didn't see a game. All I saw was a whooping. Anyway, so says the Philadelphia Eagles won. Now, what's important here is if you zoom in, you see references. you see where did Copilot source that answer from? How did it come to the conclusion that the Eagles won the 2025 Super Bowl? So that's important because you want to check your sources. You cite your sources when you have publications, right? This is very similar. Like we got the answer right away, but I also have the source of where the answer came from. So
Dwayne, I
it's
think it's helpful. This is a great example to also call out that this tool has access to the web as it is today,
mhm. Yeah.
not stuck in some of these language models. Their data is created at a certain point in time. And if you don't have a tool that actually has access to the web while you're using it, your information is only going to get pulled from the time frame and that language model was created, which might be 6, 8 months in the past.
Yeah, it's very similar to the encyclopedia reference. Like the encyclopedia knows what was available at the time when it was actually like printed and published. If the Super Bowl hadn't happened yet, it wouldn't know the answer to the question. So yeah, augmenting the knowledge that AI has with current events and current data, using a public web search is pretty powerful. So also a relatively new thing is this little bar here actually shows you what did Copilot send to Bing when it did its web search. Because sometimes you might intermix things, right? Like if you ask Copilot a question about an internal process and it decides to use the internet to ask the question, you'll actually see some transparency there in what did it send to the internet to ask that question because it's using Bing, the Microsoft Bing search index, it's called. So like I said, a little bit of transparency there, which is good stuff. So everybody should definitely check out this PowerPoint presentation. There's another couple of PowerPoint presentations that I'm going to give you. One of them is a little nerdy, but I'll pull it up real quick for the sake of the recording because I think it's good. Fetching your file. And while that's loading, I will give you yet another presentation that you can go and download. And this one is aka.ms What's New Copilot. And this one will automatically download a PowerPoint. So as soon as you open it, it downloads a PowerPoint. I think I already had one. Yeah, what's new in January. This is a presentation that's produced every single month around the middle of the month. So it just came out like maybe yesterday or so for January. That's a nice collection of updates as it relates to Copilot. So if you're curious about, like, hey, what are some of the new things that are happening in Copilot? Keep that one and check that one out.
I think we'll
This
find
goes,
on sorry, real quick, the adoption process is that really helps that adoption process. I think we'll find in the adoption site, um, there's a workflow, a process of helping your users adopt these kind of tools. And one of those is continually meeting, talking about it, getting it together and gathering to see what's new, help each other share prompts, things like that. And having that deck that comes out what happened in the last month has really been helpful to kind of showcase that for you.
yeah. Yeah, this single slide here is probably like, this is the highlight of the Cloudy County meeting for February is the what's new is Copilot chat. And so this sums it up on a single slide, basically. You're going to see some of those things like GPT-4 Omni, access to agents, IT controls with data protection and agent management. Those are all collectively the new solution called Copilot chat. And Microsoft has said some things like Copilot will be the UI to the AI. So you see a lot of things now that are actually just falling underneath the branding of Copilot, even like the Office apps. So if I type in Copilot on my computer, I see M365 Copilot there. And if I click it, it opens up the Office app on my computer, which is now called Copilot because and there's the announcement letting me know that that was the change that was happening. It is the UI to AI. So you're going to see Copilot being presented to you in different places. And I would encourage you to meet with your friends and your colleagues and build some awareness around that and show them some of the things that they can do with it that are pretty cool. I'm going to give you one that I think is pretty neat. So I'm going to give you a scenario, we call it. So this may look familiar to you. If you're a Teams meeting user, you maybe see the recap of a Teams meeting, which includes like the transcript and the recording and attendance reports and those kinds of things. But mine looks a little different, and that's because I have what's called a Teams Premium license that gives me an automatic AI summary of the Teams meeting. I don't have to do anything. Everything that we talked about on the January 2025 Cloudy County call is automatically summarized for me and listed here. If I want to share it with people, I can just click copy, I can click paste, I can dump the entire thing into the chat. So I just did. So sorry for the gigantic wall of text. But that's not an uncommon practice these days is to, hey, can you share the recap for me? Well, if you don't have a Teams premium license or you don't have Copilot, I'll show you a workaround. Sorry, Joe, go ahead.
Well, I've been adding that to the description in stream of that meetings. So I'll take that, open that. There's like a little open in stream up there, and add that to the description so it's available to everybody when they view that.
Yeah. Yeah, Copilot, please condense this summary. Yes. It is pretty verbose at first. You can definitely dial it in. I'll show you how to dial it in. In the Teams meeting or other meeting things, sometimes you can download the transcript directly. In Teams, you have these two options. You have download as a DOCX or download as a VTT. So, whoops, sorry, switch windows. I'm going to download it as a VTT. Now, the reason why I'm doing that is because a VTT, like the Copilot large language model, all it wants is text. That's all it needs. That's all it cares about. That's all it needs to understand what's going on is text. So I'm going to reshare my screen. Apologies for all the kind of moving things around back and forth. So I have this VTT file. Now, the user that we're using here, Nestor, he doesn't have the paid Copilot license. He just has free Copilot that's available to everybody. We're going to use that to summarize this entire meeting. So let me grab a prompt. And we will make that happen. Sorry, one second. All right, so I'm going to give you all this prompt so that you have it as well. Prompts are valuable. Once you have a prompt like dialed in and it does a pretty good thing, you should save it and you should share it with your colleagues. We're going to summarize this meeting transcript, but I have to show you a little bit of a trick first. In the Copilot interface, we have a paperclip here that allows me to upload a file. If I go to, not Starfleet, well, that popped up. If I go here, I can't actually upload a VTT file. It's not a supported file type, so it will error out and tell me this file type's not supported. So we're going to fix that, and we're just going to rename it to .txt. So what's actually in this thing? What does it actually look like? Well, if I open it up, it's a subtitle file. Like this is what you would feed YouTube or some other video service if you wanted to provide them your own subtitles rather than them generating the subtitles for you. If you look in to it a little bit closer, you see like a timestamp, the duration of how long it took me to actually say. So what we're going to do is a recap of blah, blah, blah. I talk too much. I know that. It happens, but here's proof in subtitle form. Um, so that's the content of the file. Well, now if I say I want to upload a different file, there it is. I've fed it to Copilot. Now I'm gonna ask it to generate a summary of the meeting for me. So we'll give it a moment or an extra moment, and we'll have, there we go, a full summary of this meeting, everything that happened inside of it. And since we're being funny and somebody said like condense it, you could follow up on this and say, you know what, I need you to make this a lot shorter, or I want you to turn this into a social media post. So let's try that.
with
So
some emojis.
yeah, with some, well, if you say social media, I think Copilot knows that it needs to use emojis. So I'll say, please reformat the summary of this meeting into a social media post so I can post on LinkedIn and build awareness around the Cloudy County community call for land grant extension agents. So I've given it some context. I'm telling it why I want it to do what I want it to do. It's going to use my content from the actual meeting that we had. It's talking about, some of the changes. It's still a summary, but it's much shorter. And of course, it used emojis because I guess that's like a requirement when you post on social media is you have to use emojis.
Not
So
just in your normal email. I mean,
I, oh, and there's hashtags in there. So I don't, they may not be trending yet, but we'll try and make that happen. Um, but I started off with a data source, right? A transcript of a meeting. All I need is data. All I need is text. The upload here does have a little bit of a limitation. It's 1 megabyte per file, which is why I dropped it down to just raw text, because then you don't have to worry about file size. If you go look at the size of this file, hour-long meeting, it's 138 kilobytes. We are way under 1 megabyte. So that's not even a problem. You can upload spreadsheets, PDF files, Word documents. You can add additional context and data to Copilot so that you can use generative AI with your work data. And again, I want to reemphasize, this is not the paid Copilot. This is the Copilot that everybody on this call should already have access to use. And just so you can see that I'm not fibbing, it just uploads it to your OneDrive. It's not sending it to another provider or another service and doing something with it. All of this stuff is hosted and maintained and held within Microsoft 365. There's some other files. Apparently, I had a document called Bacon that I was doing a demo with. Probably a tasty demo.
the
But
recipe for a great demo.
yeah, it's a recipe for a great demo. All you need is bacon. Um, but try using Copilot when you're doing research, asking questions, doing recon on something, trying to understand a concept. It's all there. It's easily available. All you have to do is log in with your existing, school account and you're already in. The stuff that's coming later, like other than just like the overall rebrand, which is the what's new of the session, is agents are going to be a part of this experience as we go through 2025. We'll see some more things around agents. And also, the what's new is the surfacing of Copilot inside of Teams and also inside of Outlook. If I open up Nestor's email real quick, if we click, yeah, there it is pinned to his Outlook app bar as well. So if you're an Outlook user and not a Teams user, you can still get to Copilot really easily. And as always, remember there's a web interface for it also. So I'll leave this on the screen for a few extra seconds for Greg. Sorry.
And don't forget to explore that adoption Microsoft.com site too. There's
It's
we went
really
over
good.
just a little bit of the
Yeah.
resources that are there. Those scenarios are great, even if maybe maybe you're not dealing with finance or something like that. But the thought process around coming up with scenarios to help you think of ways to use it, or helping users that you want to help use it. There's great options in there. Um, if you're someone who's trying to have I know our agents go out and do teaching and that kind of work, helping people adopt different new techniques of things like that. I just find the adoption site great on understanding what what are great ways to help people adopt things. So
Mhm.
sometimes just going in there outside of just teams and things like that, the other aspects of that site is really helpful.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I highlighted this one because transforming stuff is challenging, like maybe you've got a paper that's very scientific or very technical. Ask Copilot to rewrite it in a way that would resonate with a new homeowner. It's pretty amazing at doing stuff like that, transforming existing knowledge and information. So there's so many ways that you can use this tool. And again, we always like to show you tools that are in your toolbox already, and this is one. So hopefully you all go give it a try and report back to us and let us know what you did. Remember, the chat will run all year round. If you did something amazing or if you get stuck on something, tell us in the chat. We'll try to pitch in and help out, or the community can help out. We're all about that kind of stuff. But we're 2 minutes over, so I'm going to stop the recording, but I'm not going to hang up because we'll hang out on the call for a little while longer if any of you have any questions. So feel free to
See
ask. But
you see you next month. Thank you.
yeah, thanks for joining us.